Well, hello there, Retro PC Durham. Chris here. We've got another video and we've got a pair of machines here. Now, this originally was only going to be a video on this ThinkPad, but I had been taking my, once a quarter, like once every 3-4 months trip to drop off damaged, broken, and beyond repair parts to e-waste, and I found this ThinkPad at the top of the e-waste bin. Now, they got a rule at the dump. You're not supposed to pick parts out of the e-waste bin, and I never have before, but this guy was sitting literally on top of piles of old TVs and whatnot, and it looked at me with its little ThinkPad eyes and said, "Save me, Chris." So I did. I broke the rules, and I brought this guy home. And yeah, so we have two beautiful ThinkPad T41 laptops, and they're in pretty good condition, especially considering one of them was in the dump. So let's just sit down here and we'll take a little look at them, shall we? Okay, so the first one here is a 2373 1HU, and then number 2, which was the dumpster pickup, is a 2373 311. So you can see here, pretty decent shape. This one's got a little bit of damage on the front here, some scrapes. When we open it up and take a look though, the screen is in really good condition, no scratches or anything. Keyboard is in great condition, hardly any wear on the keys. There's shine on the keys, which is, to be expected for any older ThinkPad like this, but otherwise it's in great condition. A little bit of damage to the top of the bezel here, but the keyboard, wrist rest, all seems to be in good shape. And then the top of this one's in pretty decent condition. And then for the 1HU, the top is in really good condition. There's a little bit of a stain here of, I don't know if this is something like a glue or something that actually got spilled on top of here, but I haven't tried to clean off because I don't want to scrape the surface, because the condition of the top of this particular one is in actually really good shape. Screen is decent condition, no scratches or anything. And again, the keyboard's in good condition, shine on the keys, but otherwise it's doing pretty good. And yeah, they're looking very nice. And both of them work. Now, obviously, there's going to be some age going on them. This T41, the battery doesn't hold any charge really anymore, and the CMOS battery's toast. But the dumpster dive pickup, both the battery and the CMOS are still in working order, which is like pretty awesome. So I'm going to plug them both in here, and why not boot them up? We'll do a little boot off test, shall we? So I'm going to plug them in. I've got power adapters, and I've got a pair of Ethernet cables that we can maybe plug in. I don't really need the Ethernet cables, but yeah, I thought I would just get them up and running here. Maybe we'll do a boot test. How about that? Okay, we've got them here. I'm gonna get my fingers in the right spot, and we're gonna 1, 2, 3, boot. Now, the boot test is probably not going to work very well because one of them, the one that's got the bad battery, is going to halt, right? Yeah, so we're going to get a halt here where Windows is not going to be able to start booting yet because the BIOS is going to say, "Hey, I'm not working right. Help me, please." Whereas on the right, we're getting a boot into Windows perfectly without any issues. Maybe if I do the Access IBM button, it'll help us move things along. I don't know. Prepare the boot drive list. For some reason, it doesn't want to go through the boot. And I think it's all because the CMOS battery's toast on this. So it's giving, it's having problems getting started, of course, because the BIOS is like, "Hey, I don't have any information here." But it's interesting, it didn't even throw out my CMOS battery is not working error. So that's kind of interesting. Well, while that's going on this side, Windows XP is loaded up here, and you can see some pretty cool stuff going on here. So not only do I have XP installed on this machine, but I've got the Windows themes from IBM on here as well. So all the cool icons, the active desktop background that shows like the little dots of how far the hard drive is filled, battery. These buttons up here would be if we were connected to Wi-Fi and internet, would be the connectivity. If you had email, it would show if you've got email messages. All of the like ThinkPad presentation director and all that stuff is installed on here as well. And actually what I was able to do with the dumpster dive pickup was it had like Windows, it might have had Windows XP or Windows 7, and but it was like the user, whoever put it in the dump, hadn't like deleted it or anything, so it had like a password protected user and stuff, and I didn't bother going into it. I just pulled the drive up and wiped it. But what I did was I cloned the T41 drive that I already had onto another drive and installed that instead. So they've got like an identical image on here, because the one that I already had, I had done all this work on. So that's why you can see stuff here. Like I've got Doom and Need for Speed and stuff on here to, you know, test out, you know, kind of how this works on from gaming, which isn't that great. I'm going to open up hardware info. It's hardware info 32, because obviously we're in a 32-bit OS. And hopefully I can get this. This guy doesn't want to boot, does it? Let's try, see if we can get a restart going on this one. While hardware info is opening. Okay, so here, which I believe this one is, yeah, the 311. This is the dumpster dive pick, right? So we've got an Intel Pentium M 1.6 gigahertz. The T41s had a I think it's 1.4, 1.5, or 1.6 speed. So this is like the fastest you could get a processor in this machine. And then it's got a Radeon 7500 GPU, which is 32 gig, or 32 gig, 32 megabyte graphics card. There was a Radeon 9500 you could get for these as well, which is obviously be a little bit more powerful. But I don't remember if it actually had more memory. It might have just been like a higher speed GPU in terms of clock speed. But not any more memory, which may or may not have actually helped you from doing anything in terms of graphics. And again, even with a GPU, ThinkPads in this age weren't built for gaming. They were built for, like, the GPU was there to be able to improve graphics for doing like presentations, and give better performance for running an external monitor, that, you know, the traditional cheap graphics cards that were going into other laptops of the time wouldn't be able to handle anything you know, greater than maybe SVGA graphics. So yeah, memory wise, we've got 2 gig of RAM, which is the maximum supported memory on this machine, which is a great amount of memory for a Windows XP machine, and then a 40 gig hard drive in here, as well as a DVD rewriter. And oh, there's our CMOS error in here. So I'm going to we'll just set the date here and say it's 2020, even though it's 2021. Oh my goodness. Chris, calm down. Okay. We'll let that boot up. Yeah, so we've got that running here, pretty decent in terms of capability and performance. And obviously the fact that the battery, the CMOS battery and the regular battery on this one still work. And then again, the battery doesn't hold a super long charge, but it's okay. A machine like this is great one for nostalgia, right? If you're a ThinkPad collector and you want to go back to have one of these old machines again, this is great having one that's in, you know, pretty good condition and still runs well. From a gaming perspective, right, the XP era gaming, it's not really going to be able to handle the latest and greatest, but if you want to play something at low FPS from a 3D graphics perspective, it's going to be okay. If you want to play an older game that still runs on Windows XP, then that's really where I think this shines. So for me, like older games like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, if you have the original CDs, is perfect, but also a game like Half-Life, which I have installed on here as well. And we'll get that up and running. And meanwhile, the one on the left here is still just doesn't want to boot up. It's shy for the video. It was working fine a day or two ago when I was getting these set up on the bench to get ready to record them. And now she just doesn't want to go. She's feeling unhappy. So if we start a new game, I guess we'll start a new game because I don't know how far along I am on even trying out on here. Probably not that far. Okay, here we go. This one's gonna get that booting up now.
Good morning and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for the security and convenience.
But you can see here, hit the wrong button there. You're going to have a really good time playing a game like Half-Life on this machine because obviously the video requirements are not a problem. The processor requirements are not a problem. You can play an old game like this and have a lot of fun with it. So, like I said, playing an old game like this is great. Any old Windows games are great. Basically, any game that doesn't need real DOS mode to be able to play, you're going to have fun with. And then there's apps that you can get to be able to run DOS mode games in Windows XP and, still have sound work properly, etc., with a little bit of emulation. But at that point, you're probably just better off running DOSBox on a modern computer because you're not really in that era specific mode, where you probably want to go with a machine that's a little bit older than this and run Windows 98 SE. Instead, and then you can actually get that capability to run the DOS mode games. On the left-hand side here, our older machine here, the 1HU that I've had for a while, as you can see, is finally getting itself booted up. It's finally getting itself working. And you can see some differences here. One, the battery is at 0%, and it's got that little blinking dot, again, because the battery on this one is just not holding the charge. The CMOS isn't working either. If I get hardware info up and running on this one, we can take a look and see what differences we have in terms of specs, obviously, because these are different model numbers, the 311 and the 1HU. There's going to be some kind of difference between these that are going to exist. Now, I can tell you already, the hard drives are the same size. I'll give that away. And that was because I specifically grabbed a hard drive that was the same size as what was already installed in this when I did the clone. This also has 2 gig of RAM, and the processor on this is the Pentium M 1.4 gigahertz, so the slower of the models that was available. So this has got a slower processor by 200 megahertz. But still, for something like running an older, Windows 2000 XP, Windows 98 late games, as long as it's fine with handling the 32 megabytes worth of graphics that the Radeon 7500 can handle, you're not really going to, I think, notice a difference in terms of the performance from a processor side of things. Running some of these other games like Halo or UT Unreal Tournament, maybe, even with the lower graphics, the processor might still struggle to be able to handle those at its power rating. But overall, I still think it's a great experience. And then if you want to get on and do some non-personal data web browsing, you've got that network card there. They both have Wi-Fi. It's wireless G. So you do need to have a wireless G router running in your house. I would suggest on a separate LAN from your regular wireless, just to make sure from a security perspective that if anyone was able to breach a system like this and take control of it, you don't want to be on the same network as anything else. So setting up a separate VLAN and have a separate router that's running wireless G with this and monitoring that, and that way if there's ever any problems, you can just blow away the hard drive on this one, reset the router, and start over again, and only have them up and running whenever you want to do stuff and not leave them always on like you have your internet always on the rest of the time. So anyways, that's my look at these older machines, these T41s. I love taking a look at these old machines and fixing them up and getting them up and running again. Maybe I'll find somebody who wants to collect one or both of these down the road and give them an extended life. Hope you enjoyed. If you have T41 still alive, please in the comments tell me what you're using it for and upgrades you've done to it and how it's running for you and all that other stuff. Share it with me, please. I love to read those stories. As always, I hope you are staying safe and healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one.